Hello, in this lesson you will learn about how to solve inequalities in one variable and solve problems using inequalities. We will be teaching sections 1 and 3 of chapter 2. Feel free to follow along in your book. 2.1. Equalities can be solved just like equations. Just use the reverse order of operations to undo the inequality. Let's review the properties of order. Keep in mind, A, B, and C can be any real numbers. The comparison property. Exactly one of the following statements is true. A is less than B, A equals B, or A is greater than B. The addition property. If A is less than B, then A plus C is less than B plus C. The multiplication property. If A is less than B and C is positive, then AC is less than BC. If A is less than B and C is negative, then AC is greater than BC. This property also applies to division. Because of the properties of order, when you multiply or divide both sides of an inequality by a negative number, you must reverse the direction of the inequality. For example, to solve the equation negative 2x is greater than negative 6, you have to divide negative 2 by both sides, and because you just divided by a negative number, you must flip the sign to show that x is less than 3.
In this lesson, you have to learn how to say inequalities in English. So for example, this would be said, x is less than 4. Ta-da!
You solve an inequality by transforming it into an inequality whose solution set is easy to see. Inequalities that produce the same solution set are called equivalent inequalities. Here are some examples. Adding to or subtracting from each side of an inequality the same number or the same expression. Multiplying or dividing each side of an inequality by the same positive number. Multiplying or dividing each side of an equality by the same negative number and reversing the direction of the inequality.
You also need to learn how to graph simple inequalities. For instance, to graph x is greater than 3, you make a number line, and then you put 1, 2, 3. So we shade in the region that is less than 3, because x is less than 3. And that's that. Here's an example. 2x plus 2 is less than 6. So you have to isolate x. So you subtract 2 from both sides, and then you divide by 2, and you're left with x is less than 2. And you graph this on the number line. X is less than 2. Ta-da! 2.3 is very similar to 2.1. The only difference is that we use words. Woohoo!
Go.
Here's an example of a word problem using inequalities. For the Hawks 80 basketball games next year, you can buy separate tickets for each game at $9 each, or you can buy a season ticket for $580. At most, how many games could you attend at the $9 price before spending? More than the cost of a season ticket.
9 is the amount of money you pay for each game, and X will be the amount of games you go to. And then 580 will be the amount of money for the season pass, which is all 80 games.
To solve, you divide both sides by 9, and you come out with 64. So we can see that after 64 games, the ticket cost is more expensive than the annual cost. The end.
For the next word problem, it says to find 4 consecutive numbers that are in between 10 and 2. So you'd want to have it greater than 10. You'd have the 4 numbers. So you have your base number, which is n plus 1, which is the number after it because it's consecutive, plus n plus 2, and plus n plus 3. And it'd be less than 20. Then you want to simplify this. So you have 4n, so you can add all those together, which will be 4n. Then you have the numbers, so it's 3 plus 2 plus 1. That is 6. Then you have these numbers you have to bring down. So you have the plus 6, so you want to subtract it from all 3 parts. So you'd have 4 n and 14. Then you want to divide by 4 to get rid of the 4 in the middle from the n. And you'd have 1 n and 3.5. Since your number has to be over 1 and less than 3.5, the only possible numbers would be 2 and 3. So I'm going to use 2 for the base. So you'd have 2, 2 plus 1, 3, 2 plus 2, 4, and 2 plus 3 is 5. These would be your 4 consecutive numbers. And also, you could use the 3. That would be 3, 4, 5, and 6.
Ta-da! We hope you learned something from this 2.1 and 2.3 lesson. Thank you. Go.
2.3 is the same as 2.1. Point 1.
The Hawks' 80th basketball games next. Oh crap! Wait,
Oh, come on.
For the season ticket to be lower than going to a single game. Oh my goodness, I just 64. And that means that after 64 games,
It's not the right way to learn how to graph simple inequalities. So, are you kidding me? You have to isolate x, so you divide 2 by both sides. You get x is crap.
2.
I know, but equals 2
Yeah.
is supposed to be on a number line. Plus 2 equals 6. You have to isolate the x, so you get rid of all the extra stuff that's on its side. And you are left with... Oh my god!